July 4th, 1776. The Founding Fathers stand in a stuffy room in Philadelphia. They sign the Declaration of Independence with big, bold strokes. Fireworks explode. The Liberty Bell rings out across the city. America is officially born. Or is it? What if I told you almost everything you learned about America's birthday in school is wrong? The real story is messier, riskier, and way more insane than the textbooks ever admitted. Today on channel YouTube Untold Past, we're uncovering the real story behind July 4th, 1776. The truths they don't teach in school. Let's go back in time. Hey everyone! Welcome back to the channel where we blow up history myths and tell the stories they tried to hide from us for centuries. If you're new here, do me a solid, smash that like button right now, hit subscribe, and turn on the bell, because we are going all in on our massive America 250 series this entire year. We're not just celebrating 250 years of America. We're exposing every single lie, half-truth, and convenient myth they fed us in school. Today we're kicking things off with one of the biggest, most stubborn myths in American history. Most Americans, and honestly, most people around the world, grow up thinking that July 4th, 1776, is the magical day when the 13 colonies both declared their independence from Britain and officially signed that famous document in one big, dramatic, candlelit ceremony with John Hancock dramatically scribbling his giant signature while everyone cheered. Fireworks in our minds, right? But here's the crazy part that's about to blow your mind. The actual vote to break away from King George and declare independence? That happened 2 full days earlier, on July 2nd. The document we now call the Declaration of Independence, Congress finally gave it their final approval and adopted it on July 4th. And almost nobody, literally almost nobody, signed it on either of those 2 days. The real signing party didn't even start until early August. And some delegates kept trickling in to add their names for months after. John Adams himself, the fiery patriot who fought harder than almost anyone for that vote, was 100% convinced that July the 2nd would be the day America celebrated forever. He wrote to his wife Abigail, "The 2nd day of July, 1776, will be the most memorable epoch in the history of America. It ought to be solemnized with pomp and parade, from one end of this continent to the other, from this time forward forevermore." He was so sure. He literally predicted fireworks, parades, and nationwide parties on July 2nd for the rest of time. So how on earth did July 4th steal the crown? How did one extra day on a piece of paper completely rewrite the holiday we all know and love? Stick with me, because today we're breaking this entire story down day by day, hour by hour, in that hot, sticky room in Philadelphia. You're about to learn exactly what really happened behind those closed doors. The arguments, the last-minute changes, the printing press drama, and why the date that ended up on the document won the popularity contest forever. This one's gonna hurt your brain a little, in the best way possible. Let's dive in. June 7th, 1776. Richard Henry Lee of Virginia drops a bombshell resolution. These united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states. Congress debates for weeks. Some colonies are still scared. They're literally committing treason against the most powerful empire on earth. July 1st. The vote is too close. They postpone. July 2nd, 1776. This is the day America actually said we're out. 12 of the 13 colonies vote yes for independence. New York abstains because their delegates still haven't gotten the green light from home. John Adams is ecstatic. That very night, he writes to Abigail, "I am apt to believe that July 2nd will be celebrated by succeeding generations as the great anniversary festival." He was so sure he was wrong. Now the delegates need to explain why they're breaking away. That's where Thomas Jefferson comes in. The Committee of Five, Jefferson, John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Roger Sherman, and Robert Livingston, had already been working on a draft. Jefferson, only 33 years old, was chosen to write it because he was the best writer in the room, and from Virginia, so it wouldn't look like a New England thing. He locks himself in a room and writes for 17 days, borrowing heavily from John Locke and other Enlightenment thinkers. July 2nd, 4th. Congress rips the draft apart. They make 86 changes. They delete entire paragraphs. And on the morning of July 4th, late in the session, they finally vote to adopt the final version. John Dunlap, the official printer, works all night printing about 200 copies, the famous Dunlap broadsides. These are rushed out on July 5th to generals, newspapers, and assemblies across the colonies. George Washington gets one and has it read aloud to his troops in New York on July 9th, sparking a riot where they tear down a giant statue of King George III and melt it into 42,000 musket balls. So July 4th? That's the day the document was approved and printed, not the day independence was declared, not the day it was signed. Here's where it gets really good, and where everything you thought you knew about the 4th of July gets absolutely demolished. Let's start blowing up the myths one by one. Myth number 1. Everyone signed the Declaration on July 4th in one big, dramatic, everyone in the room moment. Nope, total Hollywood fantasy. Only 2 men actually put their names on the document on July 4th itself. John Hancock, the President of Congress, with that massive show-off signature everyone jokes about, big enough so King George could read it without his glasses. And Charles Thomson, the Secretary of Congress, who signed as a witness. That fancy, handwritten parchment copy we all see in the National Archives today, the one with the 56 beautiful signatures in fancy script. Most of those signatures didn't happen until August 2nd, almost a full month later. Some delegates signed weeks or even months after. Matthew Thornton of New Hampshire was the last one. He didn't sign until November 4th, 4 months late. New York's entire delegation couldn't sign until after July 9th, because their state legislature hadn't even approved independence yet. They were literally waiting for permission from back home. So the next time someone says they all signed it on the 4th, you can smile and drop that bomb. Myth number 2. The Liberty Bell rang out proudly on July 4th to announce independence. Another total myth. The bell we now call the Liberty Bell didn't ring on the 4th. That's when the real party started. And no, it didn't crack that day either. That famous crack happened decades later in the 1830s or 1840s. The whole "it rang on July 4th and cracked from joy" story, pure 19th century romantic fiction. Now, here's the darkest secret they quietly cut out of every textbook. In Thomas Jefferson's original draft of the Declaration, there was a blistering 168-word attack on the slave trade. Jefferson called it a cruel war against human nature itself, and openly blamed King George III for forcing the slave trade on the colonies, and then trying to blame the Americans for it. Southern delegates, especially from South Carolina and Georgia, lost their minds. They threatened to walk out and kill the whole independence vote if that paragraph stayed in, so it was completely deleted in the final edit. Jefferson was furious. He later wrote that the removal was one of the most painful moments of his life. He kept the deleted passage and showed it to friends for years. Imagine if that paragraph had stayed. How different would American history have been? That single deleted section is still one of the biggest what-ifs in our entire story. The insane risk they all took. Every single one of those 56 men knew they were signing their own death warrant. If the revolution failed, the British would hunt them down, hang them as traitors, burn their homes, and destroy their families. This wasn't exaggeration, it was the law. And it actually happened to some of them. Richard Stockton of New Jersey was captured by the British, thrown in jail, brutally tortured, and forced to publicly recant his signature before they let him go. A broken, sick man who never fully recovered. 8 of the signers weren't even born in America. They were immigrants from Britain or Ireland. The youngest signer was only 26 years old. Benjamin Franklin was the oldest at 70. Average age? Just 44. These weren't rich, safe politicians. These were men who literally bet their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. Exactly what they wrote in the document. One more insane, little-known fact to end this section. When the British finally evacuated New York City in 1783, 7 long years after the Declaration, the very last British soldier to leave was so furious that he reportedly turned around, loaded a cannon, and fired one final shot, straight at the brand new American flag flying over the city. That's how much they hated what those 56 men started. So, why the hell do we celebrate July 4th instead of July 2nd? John Adams was so sure July 2nd would be the eternal holiday. What changed? Buckle up. This is where the real plot twist hits. Simple, brutally simple. The moment Congress finally approved the final wording on July 4th, they ordered the document printed and sent out to the colonies as fast as humanly possible. And right at the very top of that printed broadside, the one that every newspaper, every tavern, every town crier read aloud. It proudly said in big, bold letters, "In Congress, July 4th, 1776. That date was now literally printed on every single copy that flew across the 13 colonies. People didn't see July 2nd anywhere. They saw July 4th. And just like that, the date on the paper became the date in their hearts. By the very next year, 1777, cities up and down the coast were already throwing massive parties on the 4th. Fireworks exploding over Boston Harbor, parades in Philadelphia, cannons firing in New York, bonfires everywhere. The tradition didn't just stick, it exploded. By 1783, when the war finally ended, July 4th was already America's unofficial birthday. July 2nd, completely forgotten by history. Even John Adams eventually came around. The man who once swore July 2nd would be celebrated forevermore started throwing his own 4th of July parties in his later years. He'd invite friends over, raise a glass, and admit, with that classic Adams grumpiness, "Well, the 4th ain't so bad after all." But here's the wildest, most poetic coincidence in all of American history. Exactly 50 years later, on July 4th, 1826, both John Adams and Thomas Jefferson died within hours of each other. Adams was 90, Jefferson 83. The two giants who had argued, fought, reconciled, and together birthed the Declaration, left this world on the exact same day the nation was celebrating its 50th birthday. Adams' last words? Thomas Jefferson survives. He didn't know Jefferson had died just a few hours earlier. The newspapers called it a miracle. The people called it divine. Historians still call it one of the craziest plot twists ever. Now, let's be real for a second. The Declaration of Independence didn't win the Revolutionary War. It didn't free a single enslaved person. It didn't magically create a perfect, flawless country. We all know how messy the next 250 years got. But what it did do was something far more dangerous and beautiful. It gave the entire world a brand new, revolutionary idea, written down for the first time in history. Governments are not gods. They exist only to protect life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And when any government stops doing that, the people have the right, the duty, to alter or abolish it and start over. That single paragraph changed everything. It inspired the French Revolution, Latin American independence, women's suffrage, civil rights marches, and every freedom movement since. Kings trembled, empires fell. Ordinary people looked at their rulers and said, "You work for us." 250 years later, that idea is still revolutionary, still dangerous, still unfinished. And every time you watch fireworks light up the sky on the 4th of July, you're not just celebrating a date on a piece of paper. You're celebrating the moment 56 men bet their lives on the craziest idea in human history, that all men are created equal, and that freedom is worth everything. If this blew your mind, drop it in the comments and tell me, what other July 4th myth do you want me to destroy next? Make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell. Next week, we're doing 10 forgotten heroes of the American Revolution you've never heard of. Thanks for watching. Happy early America 250. And as always, stay curious about the past. I'll see you in the next one.